Welcome to the Buy Box Bandits podcast.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Buy Box Bandits podcast, episode 148. Today, we have an absolute treat for you guys, especially with Q4 toys, holiday sales rush season here. We have Steve, who's one half of Steve and Alexa at the Village AMZ, and these guys are RA scaling enthusiasts. So we're going to drop a lot of game on Q4 stars for you guys. Now, we have a full episode with Steve, I believe from last January or February, that goes in depth into their story, how they got going, quitting their jobs, everything like that. So you guys can watch that episode too. We'll link it in the show notes as well. But today we want to get really tactical, Q4 scaling, retail arbitrage, that kind of thing. So Steve, thanks for joining us, Steve.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So for people who might not be familiar, we're obviously going to dive super deep into specific actionable stuff people can do today. Do you want to give the couple minute kind of just walk through the short version of your story as well?
Yeah. So we started in very early 2020 on Amazon. My wife, Alexa, that I run the business with, she started the account actually, as she was looking for a way to not have to go back to her regular job, coming off maternity leave. And I had a job, different things going on, coaching, busy. And we just kind of got started on the weekends. Then next thing you know, it's March of 2020, COVID hits. My job kind of stopped because I was in the travel industry. She was working in the school, so her job, she didn't have to go there as well. And we just, threw all of our time and capital and everything into the business. And now we do it full time and really enjoy it. It's really changed our lives for the better.
So what's current, like a current breakdown of the RA, OA, wholesale split that you guys got going on?
Yeah, great question. And I get asked this a lot, and I don't have, it's not something we track, but if I would guess, wholesale is an ever growing thing for us. If you asked maybe a year ago, I'd say close to zero. Now it's pushing up, 5 to 10%. And then the rest of that still is arbitrage though. So I would say RA is at least 35%. Maybe a little more kind of depending on the season or what's going on, at least of units. Maybe not, it might be a little lower of dollars. We do some higher dollar OA stuff. It just makes sense to like sales tax arbitrage and things like that. But yeah, I would say somewhere in about an even split breakdown, 35, 40, 45%. I'm not totally sure on
right.
That.
So let's dig into that RA piece a bit, because unfortunately, and this is how Miles and I both came up, RA gets a lot of negative publicity, right?
Yeah.
A lot of negative publicity. And the unfortunate thing nowadays is there's a lot of opportunity with a lot of sales and Black Friday deals going on to make a lot of money with RA, especially with the speed of iteration. So kind of dig into tactically, maybe the person that's just going into the store the first time today, what they can be looking for to make money Q4 2023.
For sure. Yeah, I would say start with something and if you don't know any sort of products or any sort of category, start with something that interests you. Like we do a ton of toys year round. And, I say that and people are like, toys in June? Yeah, like they sell really well year round if you know what you're looking for. But I've sold toys, for most of 20 years, on eBay and now on Amazon. So I have a lot of knowledge there. But for this year, you can get into seasonal stuff, right? You can look at seasonal groceries, seasonal type items, different toys. A lot of that stuff requires some timing though. So, if you're new, I would just try to, look for sales, go to the clearance section and RA is not all clearance, but it's an easy place to start because your buy cost is going to be lower, kind of start there. Get a few of, a certain product that looks good when you scan it. Don't go too deep, right? Especially when we're new, go really wide, not really deep. And just kind of get your feet wet, see what you have some success in, and then just try to grow your catalog from there.
And the wildly powerful thing nowadays is you can be in a store, buy something, have it listed, and with the speed of everything going on now, you can have it sold and literally at your customer in 2 days. Money back in 2 weeks, rinse and repeat. Right. And the really cool thing for newer sellers is that iteration loop, the feedback loop is super, super expedited. You can prove that something works and then maybe even go back to that same store and replenish and double down, triple down without even really the confidence and experience in knowing that it works beforehand.
Yeah, the proof of concept. And even going back to when we started, Alexa started this and I was kind of like, okay, like I don't have a ton of time, but let's try it out. And then, the concept was proven so quickly for us. And just like you're saying, it can be that quick. And especially now post COVID with an increase of buy online, pick up in store and other things like that, you can really, expedite that timeline and turn product pretty quickly, especially with the velocity this time of year.
Yeah, and what I like about RA too is that there's so much less complexity involved with making something profitable. Because
Yeah.
with OA, typically you have to make something profitable. You need some type of coupon, sale, gift card, a combination of them. Meanwhile, with RA, you find items that are profitable. Because it's pretty much just the price is the price. It's just on you to take the time to actually go ahead and dig in and take a look at that stuff. And then, so in terms of specifically with the RA side of things, how do you actually go ahead and make that transition to OA as well? Because I would say OA is more of a skill, right? And I know you guys do a lot of it too, and I know you guys help people make that transition and just get into it as well. So what are kind of some of the OA things that really worked well over the years?
Yeah, I think for us, OA is a little different, and you're right. It's retail arbitrage, super straightforward. Every now and again you'll have some sort of coupon or something, but largely it's just here's the price, it's on the shelf, right? OA is a little different. You are trying to manufacture margin a little more, be it gift cards, coupon codes, tax-free, prep centers, things like that. So for us, kind of making that journey was just as we learned more and more products, we were able to go on and find some of those products online. You can start with Amazon to Amazon flips. It's something people like to do, especially this time of year. Amazon's super competitive, price matching a lot of other sites. Or just, take if I go to Walgreens and I find something that's, a good bolo, I can go online and order it. I can see the other stores in my area. I can go pick it up. And just kind of start small like that. And then once you start to, learn the products that you're seeing in RA, have that transfer to OA, it can be pretty powerful.
And in terms of kind of you guys' operation, how do you delegate? Who does what? What's that split look like? And how does that synergy kind of look?
Yeah. So for us right now, I do like the vast majority of everything. Alexa, we have a bunch of kids, and Alexa, that's where she's right now. She's running them around to school and picking them up and all that. So she does a lot of so our main categories are toys and beauty. So she still does all the beauty sourcing, OA and RA. That's kind of her thing, and she'll take care of some account health and some stuff on the back end. But everything else is largely me. All the toy stuff, making sure. And I don't personally do all the prep, but I do a decent amount of prep. And I know that's probably a horrible thing to admit, and I get that. But we don't like to have a lot of employees. We have some things outsourced, of course, but we keep it just small where it's mostly us and a little bit of prep help, and I'm doing all the rest.
Yeah.
Lean and mean. We like it. We like it.
Do I remember correctly that you guys bought like a big ass house that had like a detached garage, and that's like
Gave us a tour, I think, last episode.
Yeah.
At least he showed it on camera.
So we've super blessed. We found a great place. And it's got 7 garage spaces, 3 are attached. That's kind of for us personally. But then there's a 4-car attached garage with an upstairs. It's got a bathroom. It's got a little like kitchenette in there. So it's got everything we need to run the business out of, and it's like a nice little warehouse for us.
Sure. And then just overall, because you guys obviously you had a long career elsewhere prior to Amazon, right? Just kind of digging in story wise, this is, in my opinion, what I think is the most important component of everyone's journey. When did you feel that initial momentum? And it was like, okay, wow. So this doesn't have to be just the eBay thing I was doing for a while. Like, what was that initial momentum? Was it I sold 56 of this one thing in one day, or this RA store was closing? They told me come in and take everything for pennies on the dollar. Like, what was that initial momentum? Because I know exactly what it was for me.
Yeah, there was one item in particular from Ollie's right when we started. It was we do a lot of this type of thing, but it was gosh, I'm gonna get the name wrong. One of the Gain kind of like reusable scent things that go in the, I'm talking about, you plug in the wall.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
like the wallflower
Aloha.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the scent, Hawaiian Aloha, I believe. And it like was just crazy. We started finding them at Ollie's. They were like $3-4 and we were selling them for close to 25. And just the power of that, the power of discontinued stuff. Just super fortunate on the timing with getting started. Kind of, she opened the account in early February of 2020, and by the time we were really rolling, it was March, and then the shutdowns, and we actually did 100,000 in sales in our first 97 days. So it was proved very quickly. Like at first, I was like, I don't know, I'm just busy, right? And then you start doing stuff like that, and it's you can't ignore it.
I think one of the areas in terms of RA, retail arbitrage, that a lot of people miss out on is taking advantage of like that human element, right? Sort of like that wholesale-ish feel to RA, whether that be, talking up the store manager or like the people in the back, and starting to really have that sixth sense in terms of what's going on off the floor, right? And so how did you have any connections like that personally? And if so, how did that sort of come about organically?
Yeah, not prior to, but now, certainly like I bring up Ollie's. Like if I walk into my local Ollie's, know the manager, right? I know there's one lady in particular that always stocks the toys. Hey, what are you looking for? Do you want something? You want to come in the back? And then go back there and, there's no price stickers or anything, right? Like it totally cuts the prep time down on stuff like that. So yeah, just, hey, I'm Steve. This is what I do. If I can ever help you out, but that's why I'm here buying a bunch of stuff is, this is my job, and, I'll make sure to take care of your people and just, hey, this is what I'm doing. And usually when you just say what you're doing, they're pretty happy wherever it is, not just Ollie's, any manager. The vast majority want to move product. They have, maybe bonuses tied to sales or things like that. And, or, hey, we got a bunch of these. Would you want them for a discount and try to move them? You just end up with stuff like that. But just be a normal human and talk to them.
But so many people are terrified. So many people are in the store, be like, "Oh yeah, I'm donating all of them. I'm gifting people on my sports team or whatever the case may be." They're terrified.
Yeah, and that is, listen, I would be lying if I said every like checkout interaction is great. There's a lot that aren't. There's a lot of cashiers that they think they're like detectives. Like, what is this tax exempt? Like you're a scofflaw. You're evading taxes. You're, like, no, that like, and if you flip it around, right? Okay, hey, you work at this store, right? Here's the pop machine, and there's Coke, and like you guys didn't pay tax on that when you bought it to resell it, right? Like these things in here, you guys do the same thing at wherever you're at. So, it's kind of flip it around on them if they're really aggressive, but I try not to, I don't say like I'm donating stuff, or I say, yeah, this is my job. This is what I do. And, if people have a problem with it, it's just kind of like nosy people here and there, but it's not too bad.
You make it sound so easy, and the person on the other side of that camera is like, "Gosh, it
Yeah.
didn't seem that easy."
But that's the thing. It's right. I'm sure you spent a lot of time in there back in the day scanning the whole store to learn, right?
Yeah.
Spinning up those conversations initially to get started with. So I think you and Alexa specifically have done a really good job over a couple of years of just nicely integrating into the community. Like I remember it was October of 2021. Do you have any idea what type of revenue you did in October 2021? It was either 100 or 200. And I was like, oh my God.
I'd say probably two. Yeah. Yeah.
Literally, I remember looking at that and be like, oh my gosh, I need to do more and stuff. So can you talk about how the Amazon community has been a good thing for you? Because I know you guys have, your own as well. And just in general, I feel like you have a good authority within, especially Twitter side of things. And, I think that's been an incredible thing for myself. I'm sure Garrett agrees. So can you talk about how the community has been big for you as well?
Yeah. We're just normal people, right? We're normal people. We have a family. We're just navigating, working together, working from home. We try to just be honest about the good and the bad and be realistic. I think we all just, whatever reason we do Amazon, right? I think we all kind of like the flexibility and having our own thing and working for ourselves. And, if the kids have something going on, we want to go do that. But, we put a lot of work into, we're pretty open about all that. The social media thing, really, she kind of got on that way more than me. That's not really my natural thing. But, and then once it kind of starts, right, you get so many messages and just questions, that's why we started the village, is just because, hey, like, we got to filter all of this somewhere, because I just can't sit in the DMs and talk to people all day, right? So, we've kind of pushed it that way, and that's been really nice. I think that's been a really nice community for people. But yeah, we just try to be open and honest and realistic about Amazon, and I think that's, when you're open and honest about anything, it usually works in your favor.
As we move through Q4 and obviously into 2024, Q1 and Q2, you see anything changing, any business changing, any specific numbers you're trying to hit, maybe private label, anything that you forecast the next 6 to 12 months that may be a little bit different than usual?
Yeah, for us, I think it's just continuing to just double down on things we're finding success on. I don't see any big changes. We do have a private label item that we are getting ready to launch. It's kind of Alexa's thing that she discovered, and super cool idea. So we just completed manufacturing, so it's ready to go. So that should be done here soon. I don't know how much we're going to really push it. It's kind of like, hey, let's try it out and see. I don't, especially on your first item, it doesn't seem to be like a super profitable endeavor, right? It's more of a, there's a lot of upfront costs and things like that, but we'll see how it goes. And then there's some variations we can go on from there. Maybe it'll turn into something, maybe it won't. But yeah, that's in the pipeline. But now just continuing to just kind of build the business around our life is the goal. Make it fit with what we want to do and how every day wants to feel. And as long as that's happening, and the profit is there, which it has been, it's all good.
Sure.
The real question is, have you gotten the kids starting to sticker yet?
Yes. Yeah. The two will they love to help. They'll come in the garage and sticker, simple stuff and with boxes, or they really, really like it.
Yeah. So one thing I'm curious about, I think that would be pretty helpful for everyone listening. So, everyone that starts this is typically in like two camps, right? And that they're already established career-wise. Maybe they have a family, they've had a job for a little while, or they're young single males, right?
Mhm.
For the most part, right? Generally speaking, right? And it is very hard for Garrett and I, as myself being young single male, Garrett having previously been a young single male, to answer the how do I manage cash flow when I have real expenses, when I have the mortgage, how do I leave my job, right? So I'm curious if you have any advice in terms of whether it be stuff you would have done differently or stuff that's really worked well in terms of cash flow management, budgeting, and actually having, real expenses that you've had to replace what was being previously filled with your job income and such. You kind of get what I'm saying with that?
Yeah, for sure. So I think there's a couple things there. Getting started, a lot of people like the profit first method, right? Like, I'm going to put all this money in different buckets. And that can work is a starting point. I think once you get a feel for the business, I think people tend to maybe overestimate profit. Like, okay, hey, there was some on Twitter recently where someone was talking about making, $80,000 on $1 million of sales, right? You think, okay, 80 grand, that's pretty good. But then you start to factor in taxes and all that stuff, and that, the 80 gets cut down to 40 pretty quick. And then, what's it look like from there, right? So I think just really understanding the numbers, whether you have a bookkeeper or that's something you do yourself, really knowing what the numbers are. And then, if it's not something that comes naturally, you can get a financial planner, right? You can have someone like that kind of lead you, even if it's just a consultation. A lot of that stuff's free. We use a financial planner more for tax strategy, just due to kind of how everything's set up, but we'll meet once or twice a year and kind of go over where we want to put money and why. But yeah, you just have to make sure you're taking care of yourself first. And I think another place people kind of get into trouble is, taking on a lot of debt, whether that be an Amazon loan or anything like that. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, we have an Amazon loan right now, and then when the margins are thin, and things kind of take a turn, what's left, right? You got to have healthy margins to be able to, pay back, the interest on the debt, right? So it's just being smart there and growing at a rate that is sustainable.
So for the classified young single male that Maz was talking about, that has, call it 20,000 in cash, 50,000 credit line, and a dream, right? A dream to make this Amazon thing a reality.
Mm-hmm.
What's the playbook? They come to you. that I want to have a 6-figure business in call it 6 months, what
Yeah.
would be your guidance? What's that playbook?
I think it's you have to first just approach every day with a curiosity and a hunger to really work. There's if you don't know any products yet, there's a lot to learn. You got to learn a lot of products. You got to be involved every day. You can't outsource everything right away. You're not going to learn it, and as you learn, you need to buy back your time. That's fine. But just be ready. I think RA is a great way to start. I think it's, just super slept on. People kind of, right. It's the black sheep of the small arbitrage family. And I think, you learn a store or two, you learn a sales cycle or two. You hit up some big clearance sales, especially coming up here in another about 8 weeks or so. That stuff will start pretty heavily. And you can make a ton of money, in that 20, can turn into 40 pretty quick.
So what's something, having you guys do a lot of toys, I feel like a lot of people don't necessarily know a ton about toys. What's your favorite part about that space, that toy space, that you feel goes unnoticed that should not?
Yeah, my favorite part, one thing people don't understand is about 25% of the toys are bought by, and I mean like the end result is they go to adults, right? They aren't played with by children. So there's, tons of collectibles. So, like the classic example I like to give, and we don't do a ton of Lego, but like the Star Wars Lego helmets, right? Like everyone knows the one from Target, the TIE fighter helmet, or look at the Stormtrooper helmet, or, those are things that kids can use and play with and put on their shelf or build, but collectors want too. And so that's where we really focus, is items that have collectability, items that, post discontinuation are most likely going to increase, right? Just like same thing with HBA items, right? If you look at, be it Neutrogena shampoos or, whatever, items that'll really have a track record of increasing, that's something that's really attractive for us.
And so digging into that specific piece, what would be that strategy? Is there any particular techniques that you use to maybe identify things that are going out of life cycle or retired or things like that?
Yeah. So for toys specifically, reading what collectors want, reading what fans think, following Instagram accounts, and, something's posted, right? Here's a new toy that's coming out. Look in the comments, see what people are saying. Okay, there's 10,000 comments on this one. Well, the last thing they released, there's 1,000 comments. Okay, well, instantly that tells me, hey, like this item is probably gonna be a lot more popular. Looking at the likes, or, and get on Reddit or get on some of these Facebook groups where these people talk about these things, why they like it, why they don't. So there's a lot of that. Different catalysts, like movies, right? We had some big movies this year: Mario, Spider-Man, Five Nights at Freddy's. We did a ton of Five Nights at Freddy's stuff. I think that movie's been good. I think the Godzilla movie next year is going to be really big. It's getting a lot of really nice reviews right now. I think a lot of Godzilla merch is going to be good with that. So,
Any Barbie stuff?
Any what?
Any Barbie stuff? Didn't that just come out, right?
I saw that, and we do a lot more boy toys and girl toys, but like, I was like, man, I just don't know. I have to give them credit. Their marketing on that movie was tremendous. And if you were, on some of the, just even like the basic, Barbie and Ken dolls from that early, right? Now everyone knows, and it's not going to be a thing until the end of life. But if you were on that early, you made a killing, and I missed the boat on that one.
Garrett, the type of dude to like have seen the Barbie movie too. So
I did not.
In terms of actually understanding the whole buy and hold kind of model with toys, a lot of people aren't familiar with that. I have a decent kind of sense of how it works, but can you explain kind of how that works? Because for anyone listening, there's actually a massive community of people who invest in toys, buy and hold toys, who understand how the cycles work. And just to kind of summarize it a little bit, right? A lot of new movies come out. The items are only on the shelves for like a year or two. And then once they go discontinued, the prices go up. And that's completely different than like the Nike Air Force Ones that they've been selling for 40 years. Basically, right. You kind of want to explain how that model works. So I think a lot of people like could super have fun with and make money with that stuff moving forward.
Yeah. So buy and hold, definitely in the toy space, definitely takes a lot of product knowledge. And you have to understand brands, you have to understand their manufacturing cycles. like Funko Pops, right? Everybody kind of knows what a Funko Pop is. And there was a big article months ago where they destroyed, what was it, like $30 million worth of Funko Pops, like the Funko did themselves, because they just overproduced, right? So there's like a glut of a lot of these things out there. Well, the reaction to that is they've cut back production a ton. Same with McFarlane as another action figure brand. You know, that stuff would sit on clearance forever. Now they're going to one run and done. That's it. So now these things that went from, they would sit at, you know, $4 to $6 on clearance forever, are selling out on the wholesale level almost instantly when they're put up for pre-order, because the manufacturer says, hey, we're running this one time and it's over. It'll never be made again. So, you know, understanding stuff like that, you know, it's always nice. You know, Lego investing is so popular because of, and it's not announced. Lego themselves does not announce, you know, when something's going to retire, but there's a lot of really good, you know, information out there on that that's about 95% accurate. So, you know, it's a pretty predictable life cycle, and it's a safe place to park money. That can be fun to get into. But yeah, there's a whole big community of buy and hold toy people. And we do some of that. I mean, I don't really like to hold beyond 6 months. That's kind of it for me. If I can do like a 90-day hold, that's awesome. But yeah, beyond 6 months, there's enough arbitrage stuff where, you know, you can just turn your cash.
Hanging fruit, yeah.
Yeah, you know, like I gotta really think I'm gonna make a significant jump in ROI if I'm gonna hold longer. So yeah, but listen, if you're somebody that doesn't do this full time and you're an accountant and you work 9 to 5 and you want to buy Lego and stick it in your garage instead of buying stocks, that's probably pretty wise, right? There's a lot of people that works really well for.
And
There
like
was a time and place where Miles was into that a little
dude,
bit, a little bit.
have a ton of that. I got some Legos I've been holding since 2015, actually. Like
So,
I'm up, and obviously whatever, it's been 8 years, and so I just love looking at it. I go home twice a year, every 3 months.
You used to have bins and bins of
Still
them.
have all of them. Every single one I still have. Every single one. So I'm up on that stuff. Yeah, every year for taxes, I actually have to go in and catalog it too.
Yeah.
Which is pretty funny.
That's funny.
So Steve, in terms of just the growth, I feel like it's been, at least kind of listening to your story, people might seem like, okay, it was easier, it went quick, everything. What are some of the mistakes you guys made that you think we could shed some light for the people listening to avoid, with make them grow a lot quicker, a lot easier?
Yeah, you know, I think with the end of, I think it was the end of 2020 going into 2021, we were like, you know, we had a lot of success with different RA stuff. We got this idea in our heads, like, we're going to do all these like grocery replens, right? Like that didn't work. That lasted about a month. Like that was kind of a one that wasn't good. It seems like the new year always brings these around. Last year, and we ended up doing really well. We made a lot of money from it, but I got super deep on like that first Kohl's half off clearance sale with a lot of apparel. And it was good. You know, the ROIs were good. You know, obviously returns on that stuff or whatever, you know, pushes 20%, shoes there a little higher. And we factored all that in. But what I didn't factor in was just the prep time for all that was just so much slower than what we were used to. And I actually stopped. There's a local grocery store in our area with about 60 locations, and they had all kinds of discontinued like hair products, hairsprays, hazmat stuff, different shampoos, and they were super cheap. We're talking like $2 each. And I was going around and just buying them all. And I stopped that to do Kohl's, and like looking back, like I should have just kept doing the stuff we were doing, you know, like it took like 3 or 4 months to prep all that Kohl's stuff. Like it was crazy. I just bought so much, but yeah, you know, probably anytime we get away from like what our core stuff is, what's kind of proven for us is where we get into a little bit of trouble, I would say.
Yeah, bro, because everyone wants it to be complicated, right? Your brain wants it, right? It does, though, right? You see it with the questions, the mental gymnastics people go through to avoid going to the Nike out and scanning the whole store is absolutely crazy.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
The mental gymnastics people go through to not try out FBMing and 0-day handling time for 3 days, like it's gonna kill them if they do it, right? Or if it doesn't work, right? Which is pretty interesting as well. In terms of just overall, being that you do a lot of toys, what percentage of the business actually comes during Q4? Because I think it's a lot less than people would think, even though I know you really do well during Q4.
You know, in the past, it's been, I'm trying to think just to be accurate. I would say, yeah, not as much as you think, maybe 40-45%. Now this year, I'm not sure. We kind of positioned ourselves a little differently, and went super heavy on a handful of things that are really paying off so far. Like this month, as we sit here on November 15th, I believe we're over 200,000 for sure for the month. 217. So, I think halfway through the month, we could probably hit 450.
Yeah, exactly. Because I was figuring you're probably good with pricing and for, like, are you gonna have stock in December, I assume?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So it's gonna be popping. Like, because
He says, "Who do you think I am?"
Well,
so I would say if 450 this month, maybe close to that next month. Hopefully, October we did a little over 3, I believe, 300,000. So yeah, we did 327 in October. So it's maybe a little over 1.2 for Q4, and we're gonna do probably 3.2 for the year, 37.5%. So really, it'd be 25, right? If it was broken down equally.
Yeah, so not that skewed.
Yeah,
but it's not, no, it's not crazy.
Sure. And then what's the path forward in terms of growth from here? Because at least in terms of the blanket answer, obviously you guys are very, you guys are arbitrage professionals, right? Most people aren't arbitrage professionals. It takes a while to get to that point, right? But where do you see the cap of the RA side of things, where if we did want it to grow, we would have to get other stuff involved, or at least arbitrage in general?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're kind of there in terms of, like, we have one guy that preps. He does 10 to 15 hours a week. Other than that, we don't really currently have, we outsource bookkeeping. We have a cleaner come clean the house, stuff like that. But, like, other than that, we don't have other people. I don't have any VAs. I don't have any other prep help, nothing like that. We do have a prep center we use. But, short of just buying more OA or buying more wholesale and then sending that to the prep center, I don't know if we will grow. And I don't know if that's really a goal. Like, I'm kind of cool with where we're at. Which is kind of weird to say, right? Because it's always like, we got to be, moving forward, and being more efficient is interesting. Trying to get a little better margin, gain an edge here or there. Make a little bit more money on what we're doing is nice. But right now we have a nice. I don't want to use the word balance because I think it's almost impossible to achieve balance with the family and work and everything. But we do kind of have a nice balance with everything. Every day is pretty good, and if we can just kind of keep those going, it's hard to be mad at that.
Sure.
That's it.
Makes sense, man. And then where can people follow both you and Alexa on social media?
Yeah, so I am on Twitter at the village_AMZ, and she is on Instagram at a handle I will tell you in 2 seconds.
I could tell you kind of what it is.
Yeah, she is the other .Alexa on Instagram.
Yep. So make sure you follow both of them. Also, we have that other episode with Steve, and then Steve has a really good episode on the Clear the Shelf podcast as well, our buddy Chris too. Right there. So thanks for coming on again, and hopefully some people reach out to you, and check out what you guys are doing with the Village as well.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
Cool. All right. Thanks a lot, everyone. See you in the next one.